Do you have a rental property with bad tenants? Well, you're in luck, because today I have a few tips on how you can avoid further conflict with those bad tenants and how to take steps to avoid renting to bad tenants in the future. We all know owning rental properties is one of the best ways to build long-term wealth. But it can come at a cost. It can be a huge headache dealing with bad tenants and cost you lots of money if they don't treat your property really well while they're renting it from you. So today we're going to tell you how to deal with bad tenants and how to properly screen new tenants so you don't find yourself in that bad situation. So let's talk about the tenants you currently have that are making you rethink your decision to become a landlord. Don't worry too much. Everyone deals with bad tenants at one point or another. It's really all about how you can take control of the situation and handle those issues responsibly and proactively. So the first thing you have to realize is that if you're currently dealing with a problem tenant, there may have been steps that you could have taken earlier on to avoid this situation. As a landlord, when you start to feel and see the signs of your tenants becoming uncooperative and uncommunicative, it's your responsibility to step in and coach them in the moment and say something immediately to address the problem. Some examples of very common tenant problems are when you start to receive HOA violations or even city violations because your tenant has items or trash built up in the front or the sides of the property. I know we've all also seen those neighbors that have cars parked on the side and the front all around the house and even have backyards that look like total junkyards. How about those neighbors that you've all seen that have their garage full to the brim with who knows what, and all of that junk and trash is even trickling out into the driveway and into the street? Or how about this one, the tenants who love to party and you're getting calls from neighbors and police week after week. Sometimes quick and prompt communication can be the best way to remedy that situation and also help you establish that landlord-tenant relationship where they understand that you're respectful but also willing to enforce those rules and regulations. It is important that the ground rules are set up front so that you maintain your position as a homeowner and they understand their position as a tenant needing to follow the terms of the lease and the common laws of the neighborhood. Just a quick tip here, make sure that all of your communication, whether it's text, phone, or email, be in written form so that you can log it and store it for later. God forbid you have an issue that actually goes forth to litigation, having this proof will always help you in that scenario. The promptness of any communication about these issues is of the utmost importance. You need to make sure you're communicating this to your tenant before that bad behavior becomes a habit. Because once that tenant establishes a habit, it's very hard to get them to revert away from it and break them of that. By having all communication documented, you can always refer back to it and show the tenant that you have made attempts to help them remediate that issue and fix the problem. In many cases, it's much easier to now put the financial burden of fixing those problems back on your tenant when you can show them the proof of your communication. This also gives you the ability to show grounds for eviction if and ever when you have to take it to that level. We truly hope that nothing ever gets to that level and you don't have to go forth with an eviction because they can get very messy and cause a lot of turmoil and issues between you, the landlord, and the tenant. Okay, so before it ever gets to that level, how can you take more proactive steps on screening your tenants? We have a few tips to share with you today as they've been working pretty well for us. But before we do, make sure you subscribe so you never miss a video. So first off, tenants must always fill out a fully completed rental application. I can't tell you how many times we've gotten half-finished or totally unlegible applications for our rental properties, and that's a really big red flag right up front. If a tenant can't successfully and clearly complete a rental application, they're probably not going to be a very serious or good tenant. Second, we always ask for landlord references and landlord phone numbers from their previous rental properties, and we actually call them. When we actually call an old landlord of that tenant, most often landlords are willing to help out landlords and tell us the true story of how that tenancy went. Thirdly, and we feel like this is the most creative way to screen your tenants, is asking to go and tour their current living environment or their current property. The reason being is we learned this from an investor a long time ago who has hundreds of rental properties. And his note was that if you go and tour their property, that's a very good indication of what your property is going to look like in the next 90 days. Lastly, we establish prompt communication with our tenants, and we expect the same thing in return. If you're already receiving bad communication or late communication in the application process, it's probably going to persist once they're renting your property, and God forbid, if an issue arises. Good communication is key to a successful landlord-tenant relationship. I hope this video was helpful today, and I really hope that you don't have to deal with any bad landlord-tenant relationship issues. If you are dealing with any, drop a comment below and I would love to help you answer and solve those problems. But until then, I'll see you on the flip side.